Have you ever walked into an Airbnb living room and thought, why did they do this?
From uncomfortable furniture to complicated electronics, we've seen plenty of mistakes that make it a worse guest experience and also make it harder for hosts to do their job.
The living room is dying.
Today, we're breaking down some of the most common mistakes that we've seen, plus what to do instead, so that your rental property is comfortable, durable, and easy to manage. Let's get started.
One of the biggest mistakes we see is when living room seating doesn't match the occupancy number of guests for the house.
So if your listing sleeps 6, but your living room only has a love seat and a single chair, that's going to be a problem.
Even if guests can see it in your photos, it's probably not something they're really thinking about. But if they show up at the house and there's not a place where everyone can sit down at once, it might be frustrating for them.
We also use this as a sort of checkpoint for occupancy limits. If your living room can't fit that many people, then maybe it's time to rethink how many people you'll allow to stay overnight.
We always keep ours reasonable. Typically that's 2 guests per bedroom, and that means that we aren't cramming too many people into a space that wasn't designed for it.
That being said, there are some exceptions. One being our big property in Albuquerque that sleeps 14. It's a large estate, but even with its 7 king or queen size beds, there isn't a living room that could comfortably seat all 14 guests at once.
Instead of forcing a living room setup in that scenario, we decided to create 3 different lounge spaces instead. We have a living room by the fireplace downstairs, then a dedicated TV room upstairs with 2 sectionals, and then a game room with an extra large sectional in there.
In cases like that, having multiple seating areas works better than having one overcrowded living room. But for most standard sized homes, you'll want to have one living room that can fit your max occupancy comfortably.
This is an amazing living room.
Another mistake that we see often in short-term rentals is a complicated TV or sound system.
A living room TV in a short-term rental should be simple. Guests should not have to scour your house manual to look for instructions just to turn on Netflix.
We have seen some overcomplicated setups. There's even one in one of our managed properties where the living room is configured around this projector, so we pretty much have to use a projector, but it's a complicated and multi-step process to turn it on and get it working correctly.
It's cool, but if you get one of those steps out of place, you have to turn everything off and start over from the beginning. That's not a great guest experience if they're not tech savvy.
For most short-term rentals, you're going to want to keep it simple. A smart TV that has access to a variety of apps like Netflix and YouTube TV and has a single remote. You don't need a sound bar or surround sound systems. Keep it simple.
We actually made a full video about the best TV setup for short-term rentals, and it includes details like how many TVs should be in your STR, what size TVs to get, and our picks for what streaming services to sign up for. And we'll link that video down in the description box below.
The next mistake to avoiding your short-term rental living room is buying furniture that can be easily spot cleaned.
Stains are inevitable in a short-term rental, so the last thing that you want is to spend a lot of money on a piece of furniture that you can't clean.
We avoid velvet, suede, and fabrics that look like they might absorb stains very quickly. These can be a real nightmare to maintain and keep looking clean.
We actually learned this the hard way when we bought some nice suede chairs for a property, and then our kids ruined one of the cushions with a pack of slime before we even had the property online. So now instead we look for fabrics that are high performance and stain resistant, and even better if the cushion covers are removable and washable.
We've also found that darker colored textured fabrics tend to show wear better than flat weave styles.
Leather or faux leather can also be a good option, but keep in mind that some of the cheaper faux leather materials do tend to start to peel easily, so definitely read the reviews before you purchase.
The goal is to have furniture that stays looking new and holds up well over time versus breaking down or looking bad after a few guest stays.
Because if you go too cheap on materials that won't hold up, you're just going to have to replace them again. Like they say, buy nice or buy twice.
It's all broken. Again.
Another mistake we've seen in short-term rental living rooms is cramming way too much furniture into a given space. This not only makes the space feel cramped, it also makes it hard for guests to move around.
In some of our smaller beach properties, we've actually just skipped a coffee table in the living room altogether and added end tables instead. So there's still a place for guests to set down a drink or a book, but there's not another piece of furniture getting in the way of walking around the room.
Another trick we've used in small spaces is using a seating bench instead of a traditional coffee table. These are long enough to match the kind of visual weight of a sofa, but they're also narrow such that it makes it easier to get up and walk around a smaller space.
And this might seem like a small detail, but don't forget the coasters. No matter what kind of table you have, giving guests the ability to protect the different surfaces is going to help prevent excess wear and tear.
Lighting is another area that can make or break the feel of a space. There's one mistake we see quite often, and that is harsh, overly bright lights in a living room that come off making it feel very sterile.
A big culprit is using daylight bulbs. They might be good for task lighting, but in a living room scenario, they come off as cold and unwelcoming.
Instead, go with soft white or warm white, and that creates a much more inviting feel. And if it's possible, we like to install a dimmer switch in living spaces. That gives guests the ability to kind of set the light level for whatever they're trying to do.
If swapping out for a dimmer switch isn't an option or isn't in your budget, then consider adding an additional floor lamp to give more of a layered lighting look.
The goal here is to make sure your space feels relaxing and comfortable and not like a waiting room.
So comfy, so cozy.
Another common mistake we see in short-term rental living rooms is having too many pillows on the sofa.
We do appreciate a well-styled living room, but too many pillows can be more of a hassle than a design feature.
We've stayed in short-term rentals where the couch had so many pillows that it was almost uncomfortable to sit back on the couch. And in cases like these, guests are going to end up tossing the pillows off of the couch and most likely onto the floor.
Instead of overloading that couch, stick to a few well-chosen but durable pillows, and we like to shop for ones with washable covers.
And when you're choosing pillows, try to choose ones that don't have a tassel or beaded design. In our experience, they just don't hold up to the wear and tear of an STR.
For budget-friendly pillow options, we like Target and HomeGoods.
Or if you prefer to shop small, Etsy has some great shops with homemade pillow covers, but keep in mind that these are going to be a little more expensive and they typically don't come with an insert.
And if you do buy those and have to buy inserts separately, a tip is to buy that insert 1 to 2 inches bigger in length and width than your cover design. That way, when you put the pillow insert inside, it'll feel full, not flat.
A couple of quality pillows will make your living room feel cozy without turning it into an obstacle course after they all get thrown on the floor.
You have 7 pillows.
The final mistake on our list today is something you might not notice until you sit down and use your living room like a guest would.
So if you're sitting in your STR living room and your phone or your laptop battery is getting low, is there an outlet within reach to charge it?
The easiest fix here is a charging dock on an end table. This is a $15 item that's going to prevent guests from unplugging your lamps or moving your furniture around to find a spot to plug in their devices.
It's a small upgrade that makes the space feel way more functional and prevents your guests from having to go on a scavenger hunt to plug in their devices.
There are no outlets.
The best way we found to spot issues to improve on in your short-term rental is to spend time in it and use it like a guest would. Sit down in every piece of furniture, try using the TV, try finding a place to plug in your phone. These little details will make a big difference in the overall guest experience.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And if you've stayed in an Airbnb with a living room quirk that just drove you crazy, let us know about it in the comments.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel for weekly short-term rental tips, and then we'll leave another video here on the screen you might want to check out next.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.